Greetings, students, and welcome to Mr. Liddle's History Bites. Today, we're going to be talking about Chapter 16, the political structures in Europe, both East and West. By the end of this history bite, you should be able to answer the following essential questions. How did Western Europe remain decentralized during this time? And how did Eastern Europe remain united under the Byzantine Empire during this time? So, a little bit of background. The Roman Empire, which is one of the largest, longest-lasting empires in history, had united much of the Mediterranean region. However, by 400 CE, the empire was under pressure from northern tribes. This, combined with internal corruption, led to a decline and end of the empire by 500 CE. The collapse of the Roman Empire ended centralized rule in Western Europe. The Franks, which were one of those tribes that succeeded the Romans, did build an empire under a leader named Charlemagne. Charlemagne did attempt to build an empire like other empires we've seen through administrators known as the Dominici, as well as building libraries and several learning centers at his central court. However, his empire did not last. External invasions weakened him, as well as infighting between his sons and descendants ended up splitting the empire into several parts. So centralized rule did not return to Western Europe. And instead, a series of invasions from outside groups and outside powers let the power be devolved to local lords. Lords who had warriors of their own and could protect the people living underneath them. This set up a system referred to as feudalism, where lords hold actual power, although they acknowledge the king and promise to support them, but are effectively independent from said king. And the peasants who live under them see them as their primary source of authority. Now, all these external invasions also led to a decline in trade, as well as the decline in the size of cities. Now, one of these groups of raiders, known as Vikings, who are seaborne peoples from Scandinavia, did conduct some trade, and we'll talk more about that later. But overall, the emphasis in Europe was on farming by peasants who worked for lords. These peasants are collectively referred to as serfs. And while they were not slaves, they definitely were not free. However, despite the decline in the cities and the decline in trade, new agricultural technologies, such as the iron plow, sustained the population, but just barely. Contrast this with the East. Now, in the East, part of the Roman Empire that had been referred to as the Eastern Roman Empire, and historians would later call the Byzantine Empire, was much more compact and had a number of large cities. This empire also sat on the edge of the Silk Road and was able to tax and collect the trade that came in there. A very vibrant emperor named Justinian codified Byzantine law in something called the Justinian Code. And this centralized rule in the city of Constantinople and led to a series of military campaigns that solidified the borders of the empire, at least for a time. Now, unfortunately, the empire would lose a nice chunk of its territory during the era of the expansion of the Muslim Caliphate, but the empire would rebound and reorganize itself under something called the theme system, and it was a system by which the empire organized itself into self-defending, self-sustaining districts, and this allowed the empire to quickly respond to external threats and challenges. Although it should be noted that these theme militias, if they were not properly paid, would rebel, and that happened quite a bit in the later parts of the empire. So, hopefully, by the end of this history bite, you can answer those essential questions. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.